All right, we're ready.
Great. Do we need to call the meeting to order or anything like that, or are we just good to go?
I think we're good to go.
Great. All right. We already did a couple introductions while we're waiting for some other folks to join. But for those of you who weren't able to do introductions for the Joint Animal Services, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then those from the auditor's office will also introduce ourselves as well.
Sure. I'll start again. I'm Sarah Hawk. I'm the Executive Director for Joint Animal Services.
Andrew Toledo, the Operations Manager for Animal Services.
I'm Christy Wolf. I'm the Financial Services Manager for the City of Lacey.
Chelsea Yarwood, Accounting Manager, City of Lacey.
I'm Alex Turcott, Senior Accountant, City of Lacey.
I'm Lisa Parsley. I'm actually the chair of the Joint Animal Service Commission and an Olympia City Council member.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. So my name is Paul Griswold. I am serving as the audit supervisor for this year's accountability audit, and then joined with me from the state auditor's office is Aaron Allen, who's serving as the lead auditor. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We have a PowerPoint, but we also have that adjacent entrance agenda that should have been shared earlier, and so I'll just go through that. Zoom is always super fun for me because making sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. We value everyone's participation in this meeting. So like I said, we are here to discuss the commencement of this year's accountability audit. So we do have that entrance agenda. While we don't plan to speak directly to the entrance agenda, we go through basically the bulk of it through this PowerPoint. But if there's anything you have questions about, feel free to jump in, ask questions, but we will go ahead and get started. So the Office of the Washington State Auditor is tasked with being the auditor of all public funds. And so as such, we are responsible for auditing all state and local governments. And so our office has approximately 400 professionals located around the state, and we conduct right around 2,500 audits each year. So on this slide, you'll see the various types of audits that we conduct, including the accountability audit, which is what we'll be doing for the agency this year. But we also have a couple other specialty type audits, including basically citizen hotline, fraud investigations, cybersecurity audits. Basically, we do quite a few audits. And so I'm going to just briefly talk about the accountability audits. And so the purpose of an accountability audit is to determine whether the agency has complied with state laws, contracts, grant agreements, as well as your own policies and procedures. In addition, accountability audits, they look at whether in general, your agency has adequate procedures in place to ensure public funds are properly safeguarded. So that's the audit that we plan on completing this year. I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who is going to go into more detail about the accountability audit.
Thank you, Paul. We will conduct an accountability audit that will cover the period of January 1st, 2020 through December 31st of 2022. For this audit, we utilize a risk-based approach in selecting areas for further review. As part of this process, we completed a number of audit planning steps that included conducting risk assessments with key members of the agency, reviewing minutes of the governing body, conducting analytical procedures, reviewing prior audit results, and assessing areas of common risk for the agencies across the state. Based on these planning procedures performed, we have identified the following areas for inclusion in our audit. First, we will look at payroll for gross wages and leave cash outs, comparing these to the city payroll policies. Second, we will look at cash receipting for timeliness and completeness of deposits while ensuring the agency is following policy and procedures. Third, we will look at accounts payable, general disbursements, and make selections to test they are allowable and approved in accordance with agency policies and procedures. We will assess self-insurance for unemployment, open public meetings and compliance with minutes, meetings, and executive session requirements. And finally, financial condition will be reviewed for indications of financial distress. At the conclusion of our audit, we will publish a report showing the results of our audit, including the areas examined. While we have selected the areas shared with you today, please know that we remain open to any suggestions for additional areas that the governing body or management would like to consider. With that, are there any questions on any of these areas? Okay, next slide, please. An important part of the office is the continuous communication between our audit staff and yours. There are a number of ways that we strive to stay connected throughout the audit process, some of which we have included on the slide for you today. However, we would like to draw your attention to two of these methods designed to keep you updated throughout the audit and ultimately share our results with you. One of the most important tools for keeping you up to date are weekly status meetings. As their name suggests, this is a recurring meeting, typically with the audit liaison, to provide you an overview of the audit. It's a great opportunity to discuss what has been completed, what is still in process or not yet started, and discuss any questions or concerns as they arise throughout the audit process. Lastly, we are committed to ensuring you have the opportunity to hear directly from us on the results of your audit. We will work with management to schedule an exit conference meeting and invite all governing body members to attend our report out. Please note that if a quorum of governing body members plans to attend, the agency is responsible for ensuring the Open Public Meetings Act requirements are satisfied. Next slide, please. Thank you. Throughout the course of our audit, we may find recommendations that are necessary to bring to your attention. Our office has 3 primary levels of audit recommendations that are used to convey the significance of audit issues identified. First, audit findings constitute the most significant level of audit recommendation that can be issued. Audit findings are the only level of reporting included in their entirety in our audit report. In addition, if a finding is issued, the agency will be given the opportunity to provide a response to the finding that will also be published in our report. This is important to help readers not only understand the issue found, but also any information the agency wishes to share on how the issue itself or its planned course of correction going forward. In addition, please note that certain external standards may require audit issues to be reported as audit findings. These standards are commonly encountered in the financial and federal audit engagements. Management letters are audit recommendations less significant than an audit finding, but still important enough to bring to the attention of the governing body and management in a formal letter. While management letters are not published in their entirety in our audit report, they are referenced and still constitute a public document. In addition, it is important to address management letters as if they go unresolved, they could be elevated in reporting level to an audit finding in the future engagements. Lastly, we have exit items, which constitute our lowest level of written recommendation. Exit items are very normal in the audit process and are often likened to housekeeping items as they go as often address best practices items or minor noncompliance matters. We will provide a full list of exit items identified to management for their consideration at the end of our engagement. If there are no questions, I will hand the presentation back over to Paul.
Great, thank you, Erin. Just wanted to share a few reminders with you today about our audit. So confidential information. So our office remains committed to protecting and safe handling of your confidential data. So during the audit, we may need to review confidential or sensitive information like payroll records. And so we have a number of ways to assist in the safe handling of that information. And then audit costs, we've shared an estimate of the audit costs in that entrance agenda that should have been sent over. And then the audit dispute process. So should there be any concerns during your audit process, we've established ways for you to voice those concerns. So we always encourage you to start with your local audit manager, Lisa Carroll, but please know that contacts for additional representatives have been included in that entrance agenda all the way up to the state auditor should that be needed. And then lastly, loss reporting requirements. So we always like to remind governments about loss reporting requirements. So should you become aware of any known or suspected losses of public funds, state law requires that you file a notification with our office. And so one question we often receive is who audits the state auditor? And so as required by government auditing standards, we do receive an external peer review, which is conducted every 3 years by the National State Auditors Association. And so our most recent audit, we received the highest level of assurance possible, which was a pass. And the results of the peer review can be viewed on our website. So these next couple slides are really just going over some resources as well as emerging issues that we're seeing across the state. So the big emerging issue that we're seeing across the state and nation are cybersecurity issues. And so we're seeing an increased number of cybersecurity issues across the state, including security breaches of data, cyber fraud, phishing attempts, ACH fraud, basically all of those kind of cyber losses. We are seeing an increased number of these events. So we just wanted to share some reporting requirements over cybersecurity issues. So you may be required to report cybersecurity issues, including security breaches and cyber fraud. Reporting to the Attorney General's office is required if a single security incident affects more than 500 Washington residents. Reporting to our office may also be necessary if the event involves financial records or finances. The requirement to report to our office isn't dictated by the number of affected parties, though. It's really whether you experienced a financial loss or there was a suspected financial loss. And then, as always, you should remain alert to any cybersecurity issues. And if you do experience those, make sure to notify our office. And then we also have a cybersecurity webpage on our website, which includes a bunch of links and resources. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about some cybersecurity resources that are available, but just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. And so beyond your regular scheduled audit, we do have additional support services that are available year-round at no additional cost. So we just wanted to highlight these two teams. The first team is the Local Government Support Team, or LGS. LGS, this is the team that provides support services through the local the BARS manual. They also are the ones who manage the annual online filing system, as well as providing technical assistance for that. They provide a bunch of accounting, reporting, and BARS training. They're also the ones who manage the client portal. So if you have like a technical accounting question that you're like, I'm not sure how to record for this lease liability, you can submit a question through the help desk, and LGS are typically the ones who respond. So they're a fantastic resource to take advantage of. And then the other team that we have is the Center for Government Innovation. And so the Center for Government Innovation, basically what they do is they help governments solve problems, improve operations via a variety of free tools, resources, and services that they're able to provide. They're also the ones who manage our resource library. So they put out a bunch of really great resources like cash receipting controls. So if you want to implement better cash receipting controls, they have a bunch of great resources for that. The next slide goes over a little bit more detail about the center. But one thing that the center is very excited about, as well as our office, is some cyber checkups. So like I mentioned, like the first slide or second slide, we do have a cybersecurity audit team. So we do have basically IT auditors who perform cybersecurity audits. And unfortunately, the wait list for a cybersecurity audit is about 2 years long. And so we recognize that that sometimes that isn't urgent enough, especially with these emerging issues related to cybersecurity audits or cybersecurity concerns. So the center basically stepped in and recognized that they could provide basically what they're calling a cyber checkup. So it's not like a full-on audit, but it's basically a checkup. And so what it is it's they can come in and they can basically do a free assessment of your overall vulnerability to common threats. And then they also come up with some actionable steps that you can take to improve your overall cyber health. So they started this summer, and their wait list is usually about a week. So if you're able, if you're interested in getting a cyber checkup for your agency, you can reach out to them and they can basically set it up. But it is a fantastic resource for encouraging all of our clients to take advantage of that. And then the other things that the center does as they also do some lean services stuff, lean services trainings. They also do team building and leadership workshops. I don't know if people are familiar with Strength Finder, but they are able to offer basically Strength Finder trainings as well. And they're also the ones who manage the financial intelligence tool on our website too. So Center is a pretty cool other team that's available. So just wanted to highlight those. And then the last resource that we wanted to show or basically talk about is another resource that came from our special investigations team. So our special investigations team created this guide earlier this year, which is all about helping appointed boards as well as elected officials implement policies and internal control best practices for preventing employee fraud in governments. And so the guide is available from our resource library. It's organized into 3 different sections, which is all about preventing fraud, detecting fraud, and responding to fraud. So again, another great resource that came out earlier this year. So we're just highlighting it so everyone knows about the resources that we have. So with that, that was everything that we planned on discussing today. So we can open up for any questions or comments or anything else anyone else like to talk about. Well, I take it we have no questions. So thank you all again for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time, and we will be in touch about scheduling the exit conference because I know that Aaron basically is actually all wrapped up with the audit work. So I think we actually might have an exit conference scheduled. So we'll probably see you in the next couple of weeks. So thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Lisa.